1. These are two short but perfect examples of 100% pure entitlement. They also happened on the night after Thanksgiving. I hope you all enjoy them. So I'm going to hopefully be able to mesh both stories into one because they both happened at the same place. Yes, I got that lucky. I had just gotten over having the beer bug, see vid, after 3 weeks, so I decided to go to Walmart to get my mom jugs of distilled water so she can make hot tea. I was taking the 6-minute drive to the store, listening to Toby Mac, KJ52, they are Christian rap artists, Owl City, and a Christmas playlist. I made having a great time. When I turned into the parking lot of the giant blue Target store, I went to go park. Now, anyone who knows anything about Walmart knows that in front of the stores, they have a stop or yield sign so you can watch out for pedestrians. At the store I go to, there are 3 points where you need to stop, so when I hit the first one, I stop and let people go. I look both ways and I go. When I hit the stop point in the middle of the store, is when the entitled couple of the first story comes into play. I come to a full stop, looked both ways 2 times, and then I hit the gas cause there was not one single person walking across the road. As my car was picking up speed is when this dude was looking at his phone walks in front of my car, causing me to slam on my brakes. He never took his eyes off his phone until he walked past my car. Right after he crossed is when his girlfriend, I'm assuming, also walked straight through, and then they both just stared at me in my car the entire time that they were walking to the entrance of the store, all while I'm in my car saying it was your flipping fault you almost got killed. I was at a full stop. This was while my windows were closed because it was 20 degrees Fahrenheit in Ohio. I went and parked and said a few more non-Christian words and headed into the store. When I got into the store, walking over to get the 6 gallons of water, my night was made a little better. When a kind older man in an electric cart was there, I asked him multiple times if he needed help, and he said no, but I was very kind to offer. Come to find out later, when checking out, he just had cancer treatments, God bless him. I grabbed my water, and then went to grab some keto-friendly ice cream, snickerdoodle, gingerbread, banana peanut butter cup, and a banana cream pie. The brands Rebel and Halo Top. Fantastic stuff, and tastes no different from the non-keto stuff. When I was getting the ice cream, I saw some pints that were damaged. One that was literally bent in half. The heck does that happen? It was frozen. That is when I took the 2 damaged ones to the front desk. This is when we enter the middle of the 2 Karens. There were 2 of them, but only one did all the talking, or should I say yelling. Now, normally I have issues with Walmart because they almost never do their jobs, but these 2 employees, one of them being around 18 at the oldest, and the other mid-40s, did their job well. From what I could tell, some women were trying to send something back and get it for cheaper. The box did not have a UPC code on it. Now, my friends, anyone who works in customer service, hell, anyone with half a brain knows that without the barcode, you cannot have the item sold. No barcode means you cannot look it up to see if you have the item in stock. So the head Karen starts yelling at these poor workers saying, "Well, what are you going to do about this? How am I going to get money for this?" or something like that. Again, I came in the middle of the conversation, but I have a general gist. And asked, "What are you going to do with the item?" The older employees said that they will send it off, they will look the item over and mark it down to sell it. Anytime they send off an item, new or old, they mark it as used. Makes sense if you ask me. Head Karen yells, "Well, how long is it going to take?" And the older employee said, "Well, I don't know. Look at all the stuff people have returned." There were about 10 carts filled with returns. The younger worker went off to do something else. Who can blame her? Head Karen walked over to me and shook her head, trying to get me on her side. I just stood there. She walked back to the desk and yelled, "What are you going to do for me?" Multiple times, until the super patient older employee snapped and said, "Ma'am, there's nothing I can do for you." The younger worker had come back while the head Karen was still yelling. I whispered to the girl something along the lines of, "You're doing a fantastic job. Do not listen to her. You're doing your job perfectly and keep up the amazing work." I told her I just got over the beer bug and that when I first got it, I was hard of breathing. Now I'm blessed to be well and able to breathe and wanting to make sure that everyone else knows they're blessed. I made her smile, which made me smile. When I was done, the two Karens left with the head Karen yelling, "Come on, they don't want to do their jobs," and left. I gave the ice cream to the younger worker and waited to talk to the older one while she took care of a much nicer lady. I told her the same things I told the younger one. I said that normally I will ask the same kinds of questions as they will, but I will be as nice as I can because I don't want to come off as a bother. If you're doing your job, then I will want to be as kind as I can. The older worker said that she is non-confrontational, just like I am, but that lady pushed her over the edge. Again, who can blame her? I said I have many issues with Walmart, but usually it is only when there are no staff or the staff does not want to do their jobs. If you're trying to do your job, then I am happy to wait as long as I need to and work with you. I said my goodbyes, and I flagged down the younger worker and told her she did not deserve that, and she never dropped her smile. I went to check out only to end my trip talking to that nice older man I saw in the water aisle, and we had a nice conversation. That is when I found out he was having cancer treatments and he was weak. I offered again to help him out. He said no and thanked me. He said that he is blessed and that he trusts that Jesus will get him through this. He really made my night better. Guys, please, no matter how bad your day is, do your best to be kind to retail workers. They do not get paid enough to deal with your rage and entitled backsides, and it is a thankless job. If they say they cannot help you and they are being honest, listen to them. Me, working at a sports bar as a busboy, tries hard to be nice to all who work with people. I know this is said a lot, but I think everyone needs to work in customer service at least 1 week, so they know how hard it is and can have sympathy. Well, anyway, thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope you have a blessed day and night. Happy belated Turkey Day and future Merry Christmas. Please be good to each other. Oh, and the item they wanted cheaper was a $100 plus shark steamer. 2. I'm a pet groomer, and yesterday I had to deal with the lady of a 7 to 9 month old puppy that I was grooming. She was one of those overprotective owners that has issues with being away from her dog for more than 5 minutes, saying the dog has anxiety, when in reality it's the owner with the problem. That aside, I quote her the typical time it takes to complete a groom on a puppy that's not used to grooming, which for context is 3 to 4 hours. She gets antsy about the time and decides to leave the dog, and we go about business as usual. My third pet of the day shows up at 10, a cat who is booked for a bath and feet and butt trim. The cat was freshly adopted, which I did not know until after the fact, and had never been exposed to a grooming salon. All things considered, the cat was pretty chill, and so I was comfortable taking it back. I decided to go ahead and get the cat out of the way because it was showing some minor signs of stress, and a bath would be quick and easy. I put the air muzzle on the cat and trimmed the death daggers. Everything was fine. I go to shave the paw pads, and all hell breaks loose. Cat starts freaking out and gets the air muzzle off and starts bouncing around my grooming table like a ball in a pinball machine. I try to reach for the cat to keep him from injuring himself, and he latches around my arm like a boa constrictor and bites down on my wrist and starts shredding my arm with what's left of his claws. When he finally lets go, I'm bleeding profusely, and it feels like someone injected fire into my veins. The pain is absolutely unreal. After getting some help and having myself a good cry from the pain, I calm down enough that I can call my clients and explain that I have to stop services due to an injury, and try to move people around. Most people are understanding, naturally. But when I get to the owner of the puppy, she is pissed. It should be noted that at this point her dog had only been here for 2 hours and she's already had her bath and her body was clippered down, and her head started. I was beginning the finishing work on the puppy when the cat came in. I explained to her that I've been injured and need to stop services so I can seek medical treatment. I give her the option to be moved over to another groomer to finish the groom the same day, but that it may take longer than the quoted time because he has his own appointments to do. I don't understand. She's been here all day already and she's not done. You haven't done anything to her this whole time? As I said, she's 90% done, and she just needs some detail work to be finished up, like some scissoring, her nails and ears. You haven't even done her nails yet? Have you done anything to her? Her nails aren't done because I choose to do them at the end of the groom. This is my personal preference as a groomer, but she is, as I've said, 90% done. She's had her bath and pre-clip. She can still be done today, but it just may take some extra time as the other groomer has his own appointments and would be working her around them. This is just unacceptable. I can't believe you've had her all this time and you've still practically the whole groom to finish. Isn't there anyone else that can finish her? Yes, but as I've stated, it may take extra time as he has his own dogs to groom. This is ridiculous. How much is left to be done on her? As I said, just some detail work, some scissoring of her feet, head and face, and her nails and ears. No, 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 no! I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. And there's not another person that can finish her right now? No, ma'am. He's the only other one working today. If you don't want to leave her to be finished today, then the only other option is to rebook for a different day. This is just ridiculous. I can't believe this. You've had her all this time. I'll just pick her up. What's your next available day? I book an appointment with her for later next week, and she hangs up on me. I was so pissed. Like, I'm freaking injured, lady, and in a lot of pain. It took everything in me to just bite my tongue and tell her not to come back when she picks up her dog. Seriously, the nerve of some people. I understand my injury isn't her problem, but what the hell happened to having empathy for people and common freaking decency? Additional, since some people don't understand how the grooming process works, we do not work in a single pet straight through unless you pay extra for that service. Most grooming salons work on a rotation system where we are working on 2 to 3 dogs at a single time. This is because most pets won't tolerate being worked on straight through. So while one pet is having a break, we'll be working on another pet. Yes, some salons will do 1 pet at a time, but most do not. Usually you only get that 1 pet at a time service with mobile and house call grooming. 3. Long backstory time. So I take some controlled medications for several mental issues. For a couple of weeks apparently, my regular pharmacy, which is an independent smaller one, has been sitting on one of my meds, not filling it. I had run out. My husband noticed my mood shift and asked about it. Now I take a lot of meds. It's hard to keep track once I submit a med if it's been picked up and all that jazz. So at any rate, I was getting low on another of my mental meds. All of them are controlled. I call my RP to see what the deal is. They tell me that they can't fill Med X of Med Y. I'm confused. I ask why, of course. Turns out that since Med X is a controlled substance, at the moment RP can't fill it. Who knows why? Did they call me about any of this? Of course not. It's not like I need this med to keep my mood stable. I ask why Med Y hasn't been filled. They say that since Med X isn't filled, they put Med Y on hold. Why? That sounds stupid to me. I run out of Med Y on Saturday. I ask if they can transfer these meds to Walgreens, which I have called to find out if they can fill Med X. Score, they can. RP says they can, no problem. Some time passes, and hubby goes to Walgreens to check. Turns out they need a new prescription for Med X. They only tell me Med X. Okay. No problem, I call the psychiatrist's office. I tell them to send a prescription for both Med X and Med Y to Walgreens. I was specific with them both. This happened late enough, apparently, that Walgreens didn't get it until the next day, but the psychiatrist called me and told me that they sent both. I tried calling, and every time I call, I get hung up on. I get angrier every time. It happens 18 times before I just stop. I'm seething. Hubby goes to pick up meds. They only have Med X. I'm upset. It's Saturday by now, and I can't call the psychiatrist back until Monday morning. Also, Med Y ran out on Saturday. Then on Sunday, I was putting my meds in the pill thing I have, and turns out I have 1 pill of Med Z. Med Z is a controlled med. It has the added effect of helping me sleep. When I don't take it, I get insomnia. This one also helps keep my mood stable. Hubby suggested that Monday morning I go to the psychiatrist as a walk-in and tell them to fill all my normal meds and tell them what is going on at the pharmacy. And have them send it over to Walgreens. Finally, Monday rolls around. Psych appointment is fine. I got there at 8 and was seen more or less immediately. All meds are sent to Walgreens. It's around 1 when I get to Walgreens to pick up my meds. Story time. Sorry for the long background, but you need my mental state to appreciate where my head was. So, I was second person in line. I'm just minding my own business. I'm just praying they have all of the meds the psychiatrist sent them. And the 3 I most needed. It's my time. I give the lady my information. Then she tells me she only has 3 medicines and Med Y is still not there. I admit I got heated. I didn't raise my voice. Much. But I said, no. The psychiatrist sent over a prescription for that, plus I called about that twice already. I know you have to have it. It's an antipsychotic and I've been without for a few days. I need it. I guess the manager came over and she said she'd check, and sure enough, what do you know? They had it and started working to fill it. Before this little exchange right here, though, a man came up on my right. Normally, they'd only have 1 line at Walgreens, but whatever. The young lady that had been helping me before was helping him, while I stood there waiting to see if they had my meds. He was older, but I don't feel comfortable gauging his age. But he had salt and pepper hair and a beard. He was taller than me, so probably 6 foot and heavy set. He had both hands on the counter as he spoke. This is the conversation to the best of my recollection. What are you here for?
COVID.
What's your name and when's your appointment? He gives the name and time of the appointment. The lady checks the computer. I'm sorry, but I don't seem to have anybody by that name at that time here. Did you get a confirmation when you made the appointment?
No, my wife made the appointment for me on the computer. We didn't get anything. So you're telling me that my name's not on there?
No, sir, it's not. Would you like to make an appointment?
That's what I'm here for right now. I took my time to come here to get the shot, and that's what I want.
I'm sorry, sir, but we can only give shots by appointment only. He straightened up and pointed a finger at her and raised her voice.
You know, last month, you all gave me someone else's medicine? That's how you screwed up the first time. I called my doctor and that's a $1,000 fine and insurance fraud. And now you're not going to give me the shot I applied for?
The other lady that helped me stepped over. Sir, there's no reason to yell at her.
I'm not yelling. I'm just telling you how you've screwed up.
Did you return the medicine so we could refund you?
No, I decided to let it go that time.
I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about that. And if you don't have an appointment, we can't give you a shot.
That's how you're going to play it?
They both just kind of looked at him bewildered. Sir, if you don't have an appointment, we can't help you.
All right, if that's how you're going to play it, I'll play.
Then he stormed off. Aftermath. I felt so bad after he left that I apologized to Lady 2 if I had come off any type of way. Lady 1 had left. But I was completely stressed out. I also alluded to the medicine being antipsychotic and being without for a couple days, and that I wasn't at my best. She assured me that everything was fine, and she understood. Turns out I got everything I needed, and took everything I could when I got home. Medication is important, and some more than others. It led to my first encounter with a Darren, and feeling really bad that I might have come off sounding Karenish myself. 4. Now, without going into too much detail, I live in Scotland, and reside in what's called a tenement house. Imagine a block of flats but smaller and older. Very common here. Anyway, all the tenements in my street have a front and back garden. We own the front garden as it came with our flat, but the back garden is communal and is shared between all residents with our tenement. Now on to the entitlement. We have a neighbor who lives in the flat directly above us. We live on the ground floor. This will be important later. Now, this neighbor, our entitled neighbor, has always been generally annoying and kinda insufferable. Always talking in a really slow tone as though you were inept. However, back in June, her headassery ascended to a new level. Entitled neighbor has always been into her gardening, which there's obviously nothing wrong with. But she started coming up with a plan to use the back garden for her gardening. Now on paper, this is also fine. All she had to do was get the permission of all the other residents within our tenement, of which there were about 10. She didn't do that. At all. In fact, the first we learned of her plan was her slipping a piece of paper through our door that outlined what she was going to do. Not wanted to do, going to do. The plan itself wasn't great, but was by no means awful, so Mum let it slide. Fast forward 2 months. when all of a sudden I come home, look out of my bedroom window which overlooks the back garden, and see not the raised wooden beds and terracotta pots that had been proposed, but 15 plastic laundry baskets filled with soil, 12 empty milk bottles in place of colored enamel tins, and a massive fuck-off compost bin. Safe to say, me and my mom were pissed. My mom had a strong word with entitled neighbor, and they claimed they'd remove the milk bottles by the end of the week. I shit you not, the milk bottles weren't removed for nearly 3 months at all, while serving no purpose as there wasn't anything in them. In the meantime, everything else she'd been trying to grow died a rapid death, but she'd done nothing about it. During her milk bottle removal ordeal, she also dealt with one of the many soil-filled laundry baskets now complete with rotting vegetation. How did she deal with it? Did she remove it and dispose of the contents accordingly? Of course not. This is entitled neighbor we're dealing with here. Instead, she tipped the basket up and over, dumping all the soil and dead plants onto the already overgrown grass. Took the basket back to her flat, and just left all the soil as it were. How my mom hadn't snapped by this point I have no idea, but credit to her. Over the next 2 weeks, 2 raised wooden beds were finally put in, but the plants in them also quickly died, and as of writing this, are still yet to be dealt with. Entitled neighbor also added this weird metal beam archway thing between 2 of the laundry baskets, and failed, to twist one of the longer plants around said archway. It was hideous. However, a small, and I do mean small, dose of karma was just around the corner. If you're a UK resident, you will remember Storm Arwen hitting a week or so back. And as a result of this, entitled neighbor's treasured archway was blown over completely, and, as you would fully expect from entitled neighbor by now, is still to be dealt with. So here we are in December with an essentially trashed back garden, laundry baskets with dead plants in them, raised beds with vegetation so dead it had begun to turn yellow, a crooked archway, an actual mound of soil and overgrown grass everywhere. Also, since our flat is on the ground floor, as I mentioned earlier, our home value has almost certainly been damaged by this, which is even more problematic, as we intended to move within the next few years. I should also note that we're not the only ones who are royally fucked off with entitled neighbors' improvements, but nothing more has come of it as of now, though my mum says she'll be elevating it to a higher level if nothing changes by the time we do come to move. Anyway, there's my story of the most entitled person I've met, thus far, in my near 18 years of life. 5. So I live in Spain and work as an artist. Every year me and a friend get a booth at a big geek convention and do quick and cheap portrait drawings of attendance. It gives us a lot of money, and we barely ever have anyone complaining, as we have a lot of examples of what the drawing will look like and explanations of the costs. Basically, we do black and white inked portraits on paper for $5 per each character you want. We are also the cheapest booth in the entire convention, as other artists tend to work by charging about $15 to $25, then dedicating 1 to 2 hours to doing a detailed drawing. Meanwhile, we do simpler ones in about 10 to 15 minutes. Simply speaking, we are the fast food of the convention, for those who don't want to wait nor pay so much, and we make it clear for the clients. Also, I am particularly trained at drawing fast because I've been doing comics for about 15 years, so there's no problem of the drawings looking bad because they're fast. They simply aren't going to look as good as a 2-hour drawing. As I said, we never had any problems. Till a convention a few years ago. Enter a couple of Karens. They come together and ask for a portrait of them on the same page, and they also want to include a child from a photo they had. One of them, Karen 1, had the most stereotypical Karen look ever, so I smelled trouble and explained to them that the price is not for the paper, but per character to draw, so 3 people would be $15. Some people make that mistake sometimes, despite multiple warnings through the booth. I also show them how the result would look like. They said it was okay. I made the drawing, and Karen 1 complains she looks a little ugly. Now, a thing to point out here, I draw manga style, which is already stylized, and I make people prettier than they are on purpose because they feel better that way, and then come back for more drawings. But sometimes people are so ugly that if you want the drawing to resemble them, it's gonna look somehow ugly anyways. This was the case, as Karen 1 was very ugly. But somehow she seemed to have an image of herself so high that even a stylized, embellished manga version of her looked uglier in her eyes. I didn't respond to anything because I don't know what I could have possibly responded that wasn't either false or offensive. But fortunately, they just left. Now fast forward to the event closing, and the Karens come back. They claim I've scammed them, because they went to another booth and the artist there made them a better drawing for the same price, so obviously my drawing isn't worth $15. I ask to see the drawing and they show me a paper with a single character, some kind of nymph, I think. That was indeed more detailed than the one I did, but it was one character, and it was done by one of the artists I mentioned before, who spent several hours doing it. So obviously a $15 drawing of a single character done in 2 hours is going to look better than 3 $5 portraits done in 15 minutes. And that's not even counting that the other artists can simply draw better than me. I tried to explain this to them, but they didn't budge an inch and started shouting. The place was mostly silent while everyone was packing their things, and these 2 Karens shouted, refusing to leave until I paid them back fully. I can't remember the specific quotes since this was years ago, but I do remember at one point Karen 1 said something like, "I've come here with my wife to get a drawing and you do this to us just because we're lesbians." To which I responded, "Lady, I didn't even know you were lesbians or married until literally this instant." But at that point it was clear to me they were just trying to get a free drawing by hurling any accusation they could make up, as they threw several other accusations of things that never happened, and each made less sense than the last. They also repeated again how Karen 1 looked ugly, and oh, how much effort it took me not to respond to say that she was ugly. And of course, tried to claim that because the drawing was in the same page, it should be $5, despite me explaining to them and they agreeing with it when I made the drawing. And then came the line I will remember all my life. As I was thinking of this, how entitled these Karens were, and how vile their actions were trying to accuse people of homophobia. My country is very progressive, and being accused of homophobia is a reputation death sentence, and all kinds of stuff just to get a free drawing. I was trying to maintain a straight face. And then Karen 1 says, "I can see in your face that you know we are right." At that point, I couldn't contain the biggest face of disbelief I've ever made, which made the Karens go crazy and claim they were going to find me in social media and take me down. Somehow, in the end, I absolutely refused to concede to their demands, and they ended up leaving when security guards told them the place was closing up. Afterwards, other artists came up to me from their booths and told me I was in the right, as this must have happened to all of them at some point. Spain is a country with very, very little appreciation for drawings. People here think drawing is just a hobby, and you shouldn't charge money for it. 99% of my clients come from outside because people here can't contemplate that they should pay an artist. I only make money in my own country when I go to a convention, and even so, you often hear people comment on how super expensive your prices are because you charge $5 for a poster or a portrait, when an online poster would probably not get below $15. Well, that's how it is. Not flashy, no police or amazing revenges involved. But I'll probably always remember that incident when doing portraits. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, episode 42. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then please do share it around to all your friends and family, all your various social medias. That helps me more than I can properly express. Gonna get those subscriber numbers up. I'd like to be at 100,000 by the end of next year. Really haven't grown much at all this year. Kind of went down a little. And before we go on, I'd like to give a little shout out to the author of the first story there. I will also link to their YouTube channel, which is Happy Blobfish Productions. And their Reddit username is Blubbertfish, which is adorable. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a Sunday, I believe. Well, I don't believe. There it is right there, Sunday. I know. And, just realized it's the 19th, and I should actually have paid some bills already. Not to worry, it's nice. I've always got like a week or so leeway because I tend to be ahead with these things a bit. But when I'm done working, I'll go pay some bills. By which I'm now sit on the sofa and pay the bills, because the one good thing about lockdowns and pandemics and things, I've learned I can do so much online. Anyway, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.